Hi, all of you. Good afternoon. Am I audible to all students online? Hi, Vikas, Ajay, Omji, Mariam. Good afternoon. Vishal. Am I audible? Yes. Yes. Okay. Streaming fine, I believe. Dharmender Singh. Good afternoon, Dharmender. Tanmay. Okay, I was just briefing the offline students as what's the purpose of what we are doing. Okay, so all of you probably have been part of the earlier workshops also. Hi, Shashank, Raju. Hello. All of you, good afternoon. Okay, let's start off now formally. So this is in the list of the workshops that we have been doing. And the whole intention of the workshops is कि आप लोग का preparation should be more organized. And how can you go about studying whatever you are studying in a proper process approach? A couple of days I was talking to one of the students who was qualified. He came over and he said a very interesting thing. He said, sir, end of the day, these examinations require self-study. And I could not have agreed more. Unlike what you have in the colleges, schools, this may keep the content is defined and the questions don't vary much. Somebody can tell you, do this, do that, teach, and you are done. But ये जो examinations हैं, civil services के हों, even the examinations you have, okay, for other type of courses, such as think of the CAT examination, okay, or think of the examinations that you might give for going abroad, okay, yeah, even IIT वगैरह जो है, these type of examinations, they are not merely about reading a book. उसमें बहुत applied aspect है, a lot of thinking component is there. And the moment the component is thinking component, guidance के beyond, there has to be lot of self-involvement. So हम जो पढ़ाते हैं आप लोगों को, so in fact this morning somebody came to me, I think शायद class में ही है साथ में. He said, sir, I come from Kanpur and I'm preparing for the first time. यहाँ देखा बच्चे इतने पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं, so many of them are studying, talking, whatever. So I'm very nervous. Why should UPSC select me and not the people who are here? So I made a small comment there. Yes, many of them are part of the education courses. Many of them are part of some institutes, programs. But this does not mean all of them are studying. आप लोग आते तो हो mechanically classroom में, you come to the classroom, आप किताब लेके बैठते हो. But actual study is not that. Actual study is if you understand, if you apply, if you can think over the questions. And that is when last workshop I started the conversation on, can you classify the questions as L1, L2, L3 or not? Some of you पहली बार आप question देख रहे थे. L1 questions are the straight ones. L2 questions requires interlinkages. And L3 questions require lot of thinking. आप classify कर पा रहे हो कि नहीं? And from there we had the conversation. How L1 questions एक आध ही होते हैं. The straight ones. Most questions are, they seemingly are very generic. लगेगा नहीं कि अच्छा इसमें कोई specific question पूछा हुआ है. Most questions are L2, L3 types, where you must have lot of interlinkages and lot of thinking. So that was the conversation I was having with him. He said, so ultimately क्या है? Fundamentally, a student must be motivated. A student must be mentally focused to understand and study on his own. Or इसी conversation, if I take it ahead, I had a teacher back in my college days, and he used to say, the purpose of the teacher should only be to help you develop interest. Actual पढ़ाई आपकी अपनी होती है. A teacher can tell you the important points. the teacher can tell you the book's name, the teacher can organize it for you. पढ़ना तो आप ही को है. Because until you are involved at an emotional and a thinking level, ये एग्जाम आपका क्लियर नहीं होगा. And for that, एक mission approach चाहिए. That's where I thought we will name this workshop as IR Security, Coffee Table Conversations and Mission IAS. What do I mean by coffee table conversations? होता है ना, इनके साथ बैठ गए हैं 4-5 बच्चे, 4-5 friends have sat down और डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. वो अमेरिकन ने अटैक कर दिया, वहां से बलून आ रहा था, वहां अटैक कर दिया, मोंटाना स्टेट कहां पर है, लेट अस लुक एट दैट, और लेक ह्यूरॉन पे गिर गया. कुछ डिस्कशंस हो रही हैं, ये यूएफओ भी शायद है. Elon Musk is very, very happy saying, oh yes, my friends were aliens, they had sent it. And China is also very concerned, और गुस्सा भी हो गया चाइना कि हमारे बलून को फोड़ दिया. Okay, ऐसी बैठ की बात हो रही है, डिस्कशन. ओ यूक्रेन, अच्छा स्मॉल कंट्री है, from the eastern side Russia is attacking, and from northern side also attacking. Okay, ये जो conversations होती हैं general वाली, these are typical what we call as the coffee table conversations. Questions और answers coffee table conversations पे नहीं होती हैं. Yes, you're right. Coffee table is a sophisticated word. इंडिया में चाय पे चर्चा है. Okay, so चाय पे चर्चा अगर यूएस जाकर मेटामॉर्फोसिस होता है, it becomes coffee table conversations. ठीक है? So it's something like I was reading somewhere. जो hair serum है ना, सुना है? Hair serum is basically hair oil gone to US, then MBA and come back to you and sold it as hair serum. तो वैसे ही कुछ है, coffee table conversations. Okay? Anyways, so our point here is कि आपका जो पढ़ाई होगा, it cannot be based on these kind of conversations. Most of the conversations, most of the study that you need, it has to involve some level of understanding. And for that, I'll take you through a process here. देखो, many of them see कि IR security is a small area. Why? Because 40-50 marks के आते हैं. I said no. IR and security, अगर आप पूरा पेपर देखें, IR is paper 2 and security is paper 3. अगर आप ऐड करें, almost 100 marks का questions हैं. Okay, and that's lot of marks. माने एक GS paper, okay, is 250 marks. So अगर आप you cannot delink security from IR. If you look at the marks there, 40 marks security approximately paper 3 में, और इसमें 50-60 mark होता है. There are 3-4 questions on 4-5 themes. 100 mark का paper is a very, very important region, very, very important part of coverage. And this is one of the most studied areas in current affairs. Current affairs देखोगे आप, 4-5 themes dominate current affairs. IR is one of them. Relationship between the countries, the trade relationships, the security dimensions, issues related to environment. Usme IR is a very, very important part. And all of us, I think, will have this agreement that somewhere all of us are, okay, very interested in IR. Maza aata hai. I don't know whether you feel that or not, but I've seen students enjoying the process. Why? Because it's a power game. Interesting game लगता है. वहां से अटैक कर रहा है, यहाँ से निकल जा रहा है, वहां से ये कोलैबोरेशन हो गया. And a lot of historical studies linked to it. If you're looking at the conflicts of Ukraine, it's not a conflict began yesterday or 1 year ago. इसका बहुत पुराना हिस्ट्री है यूक्रेन का. I mean, historically एक रहा है something called as the Crimean War. वहां से भी कुछ linkages हैं. There are issues related to the USSR and its breakup. So there's a lot of historical things, and that's why it's so interesting. So my point here is, don't underestimate IR and security. And in my perspective, I think if you get a focused approach to this, आप इसमें अच्छा score भी कर सकते हो. Because I think of all the topics we have, IR topics are one area जिसमें आप questions कर सकते हो, predict. If I list down कि इस मेंस में क्या क्या पूछ सकता है, it's almost on fingertips. 15 to 20 topics on fingertips. लेकिन प्रॉब्लम ये है कि उसको पढ़ा कैसे जाएगा. So these questions are very, very predictable. So they are scoring there. Now look at this one. I asked a question couple of workshops ago, which is the core area of GS. याद है आपको? Some of you were there, others were not there. Ask some people, what do you think is the core area of GS? Okay. So when I say core area, one of the assumption is core area as in what fetches good marks. Okay. Core area, some thought, okay, where the domain is well defined and therefore, okay, comparatively a must prepare. Comparatively a must prepare. Okay, so based on this, many of you had voted, okay, that you think polity is a core area. Some of you said environment is a core area. And I remember some of you telling us ethics is also a core area, but many of them disagreed with this. Okay, so ये एक interpretation है कि when I say GS का core area क्या है? Okay, now my interpretation is core area वो है which is kind of a convergence of GS and all that is expected of a civil servant in his administration. It's not about fetching marks. Okay, civil services में और एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में कोर एरिया वो होता है जहां पे कि सारे इश्यूज कन्वर्ज करते हैं. आप जो भी पढ़ रहे हो, आप एनवायरनमेंट पढ़ रहे हो, आप ज्योग्राफी पढ़ रहे हो, सोशियोलॉजी पढ़ रहे हो, वॉट एवर यू आर रीडिंग, where does all the subject converge? Where do all the subjects converge? Where do all policies converge? Where do all administrative efforts converge? वो कौन सा एरिया है? Anybody? Okay, so that is where, okay, I have this diagram. The core area is, okay, international relations, security, social justice and development. आप कुछ भी करते हो ना सिविल सर्विसेज में, एज ए पार्ट ऑफ गवर्नमेंट, आपका यही काम है. अल्टीमेटली योर पॉलिसीज हो, आपके लॉज हैं, आपके प्रोग्राम्स हैं, okay, whatever we have initiative and schemes we have, they essentially are for development. Environment issues ho, infrastructure ho gaya, talk about climate change issues, agriculture, anything you talk about is essential about development and social justice. Equality hai, human rights hai, okay, rights of the children, rights of the aging population, rights of rural population, justice ke issues hai. Tribal rights and security बहुत important है. Without security, no development can be sustained. और क्या फायदा उस development का अगर people can't be sure about whether they are alive or not? Of what use is any development, any investment, any program, whatever, if people are not assured about their own security? And IR, now listen, why I say IR is one of the objectives of India's efforts has been India trying to find a place for itself in the global scheme of things, जिसको technically बोलते हैं prestige security. India को ना, okay, and I think that's legitimate. India is aspiring for elevating itself to a major important player in the world. It's not only about help. It's not only about trade. हमें अपना position चाहिए. And it's legitimate. Why? Because we are the world's top 5 economies. We are the world's largest population. Okay. India one of the oldest civilizations. India has given lots to the world in terms of cultural issues. And India has contributed significantly in almost most of the global institutions. आप UN peacekeeping force देख लो, उसमें India contributions हैं. You talk about all this humanitarian aid, उसमें भी India का role है. Despite all the skepticism Turkey has had for India, India पहला country था that reached out in a big way, okay, for supporting and rescuing them. Okay, same for Sri Lanka, same in Nepal, same in Maldives. Okay, tomorrow, God forbid, even Pakistan, Afghanistan needs it. I'm sure India will stand up there and help out. Oh yes, it's a fact. ऐसे countries में सबसे पहले India ही आएगा. So India का एक legitimate demand है, an aspiration है, that we need to have our position in the world politics. It's not only a matter of justice, it's a matter of practical and a sane geopolitical system. Otherwise, you're ignoring the bulk of the world's population. You're ignoring a huge economy. इसको बोलते हैं prestige security. India is aspiring for a prestige security. India has been part of a lot of such global forums. Yes. तो इसीलिए मैंने डाला है कि ये भी core area है. Okay, the core area of your GS, आप जब administrator बनोगे, your core area is whatever you do must converge in development. Whatever you do converge in terms of justice, converge in ensuring security and giving India its position in the geopolitics. Achha. Now, to do this, you have a peripheral framework. Framework क्या होता है? Boundaries होते हैं. Your polity governance boundary बना देता है कि don't go beyond constitution. Your environmental limits आपके boundaries बना देते हैं. Don't exploit more than what the environment can support. Your ethics become your boundaries. Okay, so polity, environment, ethics, and economy, whatever money we have, whatever systems we have, they give us the framework. So there is a core, there is a framework, and there are resources and objectives that define the larger scheme of things. आपको जो भी करना होगा उसके लिए आपको resources चाहिए. आपको जो भी करना है उसके लिए आपको लोग चाहिए. And we have our advantages and our disadvantages. जो बाहर का जो circle है ना, I'm not speaking because of my background, but this is what I understand. This outer circle is your geography. Geography gives you the geographical advantage. It gives you the geographical compulsions. It gives you the resources. It gives the population demographics. और इसको आप use करते हो within a framework. The framework defined by our constitution. Framework defined by our policies, our ethical standards, and our environmental limits. और core आपका है this. So I hope you understand what we are doing here. तो आप जो भी आंसर लिखो ना, आप जो भी आंसर दो, अगर ये टच नहीं कर पा रहा है, your answer is missing something. So when I am training students in answer writing, I always say this, that when you move the answer towards conclusions, get the applied aspect. When you move an answer towards conclusion, get that applied practical aspects. वो कहाँ से आता है? वो इसी से आता है. Bring something from the schemes and programs and development. Talk something around security. Talk something around justice, equality, and the programs, plus whatever you can have as a part of India's international relations. So now at least the GS ka scope hai, you can see the GS scope in this. And they're all related to one another. They all have some kind of overlap with one another. Take all of you here? Okay. So my point of conversation here was that IR or security is a very big chunk of your current affairs. And IR security with development issues is the core of your GS. और इस core को enable करता है whatever other things you have. Don't ignore it. So that's one. Okay, now I believe most of you have seen the syllabus. If not, I'm defining it for you. जो IR है, IR का, these are the 4 broad domains of IR. अगर नहीं पता है तो लिख लीजिए, okay, or if you know it, fine. Okay, when you are studying international relations, these are the 4 broad domains. One is India and its neighbors. Okay, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Nepal, Bhutan, China, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Maldives. Okay, India and its neighbors. India's relationship with each of these countries. ठीक है, whatever the issues, whatever are the challenges, आपको ये पता होना चाहिए. India and its neighbors. Okay. The second area is India and the great powers. Great powers, US. Great powers, China. Great powers, Japan. Great powers, Russia. You can also include EU. India का relationship with the great powers क्या है? And diaspora. Diaspora are the people of Indian origin, okay, around the world, across the world. उनकी contributions क्या हैं? Who are they? How are we using their expertise? How are we using them as a part of lobby? And this is a very important part. Why? Because India is one country which has, like I said, legitimate ambitions to become one of the great powers. Okay, although a lot of things have bogged us down in terms of, okay, our history, our economic problems, our location, but the fact is, India has much of what it needs to become one of the great powers. और यही ambition है हमारा. हमने अमृतकाल जो किया है 25 years का, okay, by 2047 aspirations तो हैं that we would like to become one, okay, or at least as much as possible one of the developed nations of the world. Okay, ये बहुत important. It's not a just an idea which has been taken up. ये बहुत पुराना aspiration हमारा है. Okay, that we want to be one of those countries whose power, whose position matters for the whole world and for the development of other countries. Okay? So Indian great powers. For institutions, WTO institution, we're talking about UN as an institution, we're talking about BRICS as an institution, IMF, World Bank as institutions, and finally, the global and the regional groupings. इसमें आपका bilateral groupings भी हैं. Think of free trade agreements between countries and so on. So these 4 are the domain of IR. ठीक है? तो आप जो भी article पढ़ें, whatever articles you read, whatever newspaper you read, just make sure that you're identifying that article belongs to which of these 4. Okay, and some of the articles may have 2 or 3 of them together also. Okay, identify that and accordingly prepare. Okay, that's one. Now, again, I'm giving you the list of questions to all of you. Nitish, again, I want that classification from all of you. Last time, because we had a bit of a tech glitch, we could not share the results with all of you. Okay, share the link, please, Sanyukta, with the online students. I'll give you 20 questions. और इस बात तो ध्यान से पढ़ना, so that you are classifying, okay, which of these are L1 questions, which of these L2 questions, and which of these are L3 questions. Okay. Nitish, are you here? Yes, Rahul, yes. So I'll show you what type of questions we expect. But for that, one small exercise first. Pass it on. And online, yes, Rahul, last time we had a problem. Hopefully this time we'll not have that. Give me some, let me distribute. Yeah. मिल गया आपको? Okay. Yeah. Keep one, and if you've got more than one, keep one and pass the rest behind. हो गया आपका? ठीक, thank you. अगर आपका बोर्ड से हो पा रहा है कर लीजिए, otherwise you can use the sheet we are giving you. I've taken up, like we have done every time earlier, I have given you the list of previous year's questions. And you don't need to be an IR specialist to know. Acha, by the way, all of you listen. I'm just repeating what I mean by L1, L2, L3, okay? L1 question is, which is straight from the notes, okay, from regular books, which is not much thinking, which is regular current affairs. L2 are, okay, multiple linkage based. Multiple linkage based. Not straight from notes. These type of questions will be evaluative ones. And L3 questions jo hote hain, these are very deep. They require more thinking. Okay. These are more opinion based. L1, L2 and L3. L3 जो है ये thinking वाले questions हैं. I know you have not done IR, many of you have not done, फिर भी आप पढ़ के समझ जाएंगे आप कि कौन सा लग रहा है straight है. Okay, use your understanding and mark it, please. Straight from the notes, regular books, not much thinking required, and they are regular current affairs. I think this code works for all of you. No, I'm fine. Thank you. Bless you. ये मेरा एक परपेचुअल कंप्लेंट है अगेंस्ट ऑल एस्पिरेंट्स कि आप लोग क्वेश्चन पेपर्स देखते नहीं हो एंड ऑलमोस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू बाय क्वेश्चन बैंक्स एंड यू डू नॉट डू अ कॉन्शियस वर्क ऑफ segregating answers on your own. So let these exercises be initiating you into the questions analysis. कितने L1 क्वेश्चंस आए अभी तक आपके? एक दो आए. कितना देख लिया? 10-15 देख लिया आपने? 16 देख लिया. कितने L3 वाले हैं? आपको देख के समझ में आ जाएगा कि ओके या L1 ज्यादा लग रहा है आपको. जो भी पढ़ा रहा है बहुत जबरदस्त पढ़ा रहा है. अगर L2 L3 आपको L1 लग रहा है Yes, Mariam. Yes, Manish. Online students, take your time. कोई बात नहीं, because पढ़ाई यहीं शुरू होती है जब आपको क्वेश्चन समझ में आ रहा है कि क्या पूछ रहा है. Done. Good. Somesh is asking me, sir, इतने difficult questions क्यों पूछते हैं? Okay. एक तो I hope you understand, ये जो एग्जामिनेशन है ये किस पर्पस के लिए है. We are not, UPSC is not एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन प्रोग्राम ऑफ इंडिया. उसके लिए MG नरेगा है, आप वहां चले जाएं, आपको गारंटीड एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिलेगा आपको. ठीक है. यहां पर तो द कंट्री एक्सपेक्ट्स द बेस्ट ऑफ द ब्रेन्स टू कम अप एंड ओके सर यस, हमें सबसे शार्प ब्रेन चाहिए यहां पर. वी वांट द बेस्ट गाय हु कैन गिव अस ओके सॉल्यूशंस. Okay, I hope you understand. अगर क्लैरिटी है, okay, so don't expect the exam levels to come down. You must rise to the exam's demand. All of you done here? Can we show the results on this? How do you show? Yeah, please. Let's see what has been your analysis. नाम नहीं आएगा. We just need to see the responses. Okay. The first question. Okay. I'll just see overall what all you have said. Oh, it keeps changing because you're adding. So I think L2, the first one is L2 about 50. So L2, L3 में ही है ये वाला. ठीक है. The second one also, I think most of you agree it is L2, correct? Even my list says it is L2, correct? Okay. Number 3. Okay, number 3. Okay, most of you agree again L2 level का है. Okay, but my list says it is okay. This is more of L3 type. देखो, don't go by the familiar words कि सार्क में पूछ दिया. Don't go by the familiar words, बिमस्टेक में पूछ दिया. Think on कि वो पूछ क्या रहा है. What analysis required? Okay, so while it might look like कि हाँ, I understand that SARC is there, so it looks like a straight one. That's why some of you say L1. But my understanding is, okay, it's a bit difficult one here. The same here. Okay, I mean, this is एक अलग ही लेवल पे है. China is using its economic relations and positive trade surplus as tools to develop potential military power status in Asia. Okay, in this light, okay, discuss its impact on India and her neighbors. पता है इस क्वेश्चन में प्रॉब्लम क्या होने वाला है? Not know where to start, where to end. सब पता है आपको. हाँ सर, चाइना ये कर रहा है, वो कर रहा है. Okay, but where do you start? So I'll give you a format to you. ऐसे questions को वो 4-5 areas क्या हैं where you must attack the question from. So I'm always thinking on this line कि एग्जाम में मुझे एग्जाम में ये क्वेश्चन दे दिया, from where do I start? सब पता है, SEO है, I know there is okay, quad, I know there is string of pearls, Project Sagar, Project Mosam, okay, we all know those terms. ये सारा मिला के लिखना होगा कि tell us okay what it means for India and her neighbors. Okay, look at this one. This I think was a stater one. Yes, number 5. Even I think it's an L1 mostly because straight question hai, not much problem here. I'm surprised some of you say L1 here. ये दो जो भी हो, you must tell me who you are and where you live और कौन पढ़ा रहा है आपको. Okay. ये क्वेश्चन समझने में मुझे लगता है 2-3 मिनट. क्या कहना चाह रहा है? What introduces a friction into ties between India and United States is that Washington is still unable to find for India a position in its global strategy which would satisfy India's national self-esteem and ambitions. Okay. This is what we call as the prestige security. India के ambitions हैं to become a global leader, to become a country of some substance. वो वाला पोजीशन US इंडिया को नहीं दे रहा है और उस लेवल में engage नहीं कर रहा है. Okay, you must write about that with examples. अब examples में आपको याद होना चाहिए India US. Okay, what happened with NPT? India US, what happens with United Nations Security Council? India and US, okay, what is India's role in IMF or World Bank? India US, how does US see India in counter-terrorism issues? Okay, all listing करनी पड़ेगी. How it is declining, it is denying India some of the position that India can play as one of the major powers. It's an L3 question. Okay, the long sustained image of India as a leader of the oppressed and marginalized nations has disappeared on the account of newfound role in emerging global order. ये दो जो भी है ना, आप लोग पक्का मुझे आके मिलो. I mean, this is literally narrating the history of India since the Cold Wars and how things have changed since 91. ये तो essay का topic बन जाएगा. Forget about a GS answer. It is an L3 question according to me. It's not a straight question. पूरा इंडिया का role changed है. Okay. This I would say L2 है more. Japan वाला questions है. So anyways, I think you have an idea now more or less. So when you're preparing, okay, let me go back now. Now see, in your preparation, IR के लिए, there are 5 important themes, okay, around which India's concerns, okay, navigate. 5 important things क्या है? One theme is conventional security. IR and IAS दोनों की लिख रहा हूं मैं. Okay, one important theme is conventional security. What do I mean by this? Soldiers, guns, okay, military. We're talking about combats. Okay, border may be, sea may be. Okay, wherever the old type of conflict is obvious. Conventional security is the military security in short. This is the military security. Plus, इसमें issues of internal conflicts like insurgency भी आ जाएगा. Okay, इसमें terrorism भी आ जाएगा. Okay, इसमें those Naxalite movements भी आ जाएगा. So one important theme is the conventional security. जब कोई भी क्वेश्चन पढ़ो ना, इस डायमेंशन से आप सोचना. That's one. Second dimension or theme is economic growth. Economic growth, which is employment, trade. Okay, it's about the currency stability. It's related to per capita income. It is related to increasing the share of manufacturing, global trade in manufacturing. So economic growth is a very important part of, again, IR. ठीक है? अच्छा. The third important aspect is the nuclear issues. The third is the nuclear issues, power plants, technology transfer. इसी में आ जाता है आपका अभी NSG की बात हो रही है, NPT की बात हो रही है. Okay, talking about nuclear weapons. So India का जो whole concept है, okay, the triad of, triad, right? Land, air, submarines, water, no first strike as a policy. We have a moratorium, self-declared moratorium on, again, nuclear tests. Okay. So ये आपका issues हैं, along with whatever we have to do for keeping our reactors safe, okay, and open for inspection or whatever. We have the International Atomic Energy Agency here, okay, and something around that. Okay, that is your third dimension. A fourth element of IR is energy security. बहुत सारा geopolitics जो है world में is around energy security. तो आप अगर कोई question देखो ना, you can slot the question or at least identify one or more of these themes playing in your answer. I repeat, conventional security, economic growth. So economic growth का part हो जाएगा all the free trade associations, all the bilateral agreements. इसी में ही आपका आ जाएगा WTO का रोल, इसमें आ जाएगा IMF, इसी में आ गया the BRICS का जो बैंक है. Okay, you can go on there. No, SCO is not this. SCO partly is this. Okay, and it's also part of, okay, जो fifth element है. The fifth element is the prestige security. The prestige security. It's about India claiming its position in the world geopolitics. It's about India claiming what its aspirations have been in, okay, global political games. So यहीं पर आता है इंडिया का aspirational aspect, where we are aspiring to become one of the great powers. अब आप बताओ, okay, अगर आपको आंसर लिखना होगा टर्की में जो हुआ है and India sending its, okay, support, वो कहां फिट हो रहा है? Where does the Turkish angle fit in? दिख रहा है आपको, right? It's more here. Okay. India and Russia relationships in Ukraine, वो कहां फिट होता है? वो कहां फिट होता है? Energy and also this. So energy and this. Right? You take up any IR issue, I can challenge you, इस 5 के अंदर फिट हो जाएगा. So this is like a framework for you. So my suggestion to you is, आप जब prepare कर रहे हो IR, you keep these 5 dimensions in mind and try to slot question को भी और articles को भी, which of these is the question article focusing on. say tomorrow, okay, or think of India supporting Sri Lanka. वो कहाँ fit होगा इसमें? इंडिया एंड श्रीलंका कहां फिट होगा? यहां पर भी होगा, ठीक है, ओके, यहां पर भी होगा, करेक्ट, फाइन. सो वंस आपने ये दो पार्ट आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया ना, देन द आंसर राइटिंग बिकम्स इजियर. देन यू नो हाउ टू. आई टॉट समथिंग लास्ट वर्कशॉप में, यू नीड एन एंकर, करेक्ट. यही आपके एंकर्स देगा. The anchors I discussed for geography are different. The anchors you need for IR security is different. ठीक है? So around this, keeping these 5 in mind, okay, I repeat, conventional security, economic growth, nuclear issues, energy security, and issues of prestige. ये 4 issues they play off in 2 theaters बोलते हैं. One is India का neighborhood and the regional theater. Okay, so South Asia theater, Southeast Asia ka theater. Okay, and second is how it plays out in, okay, or with the great powers and other geographical locations. यही है आपका scope of IR. So question में आप पहले ये आइडेंटिफाई करना, ओके, और थीम्स में पिक अप 1 or 2 of this. It plays out at neighborhood and the regional theater. Neighborhood में South Asia है, Southeast Asia, and you can also add Central Asia for that matter, because ये neighborhood में ही आ जाता है. South Asia, Southeast Asia, and Central Asia. और सेकेंड थिएटर होगा आपका द ग्रेट पावर्स एंड अदर ज्योग्राफिकल लोकेशंस. सो थिंक अबाउट अफ्रीका, थिंक ऑफ साउथ अमेरिका, थिंक अबाउट EU and the rest. So now if I go back and let us see some of the questions here. Okay, say how do I close this? Or maybe यहीं पर देख लो आप. The time has come for India and Japan to build a strong contemporary relationship, one involving global and strategic partnership that will have a great significance for Asia and the world as a whole. दोबारा क्वेश्चन पढ़ो आप. The time has come for India and Japan to build a strong contemporary relationship, one involving global and strategic partnership that will have great significance for Asia and the world as a whole. Okay, so first tell me of the 5 themes. ये 5 themes में ये कौन सा फिट कर रहा है? Economic है definitely. What else? Prestige है definitely. What else? जहां पर भी word strategic आ जाता है ना, it becomes prestige. So economic growth है, prestige है. Nowhere else. Also contemporary. Okay, Japan, India, Quad, okay, ये सब contemporary बन जाएगा. It'll become your conventional security also. So conventional security भी है इसमें, economic growth definite है, and the third is the prestige angle. Okay, and playing on what theater? The great powers. आप इसको ध्यान में रख के अब इसको आंसर करोगे आप. Then you must know what have been the developments, what have been the treaties, what have been signed, and so on. I hope you understand what I mean by anchoring now. आप कोई भी उठाओ question, pick up any question, you can do this. What is the significance of Indo-US defense deals over Indo-Russian defense deals? Discuss with reference to the stability in the Indo-Pacific region. कन्वेंशनल सिक्योरिटी है, इकोनॉमिक भी है, ठीक है. इंडो यूएस में एक न्यूक्लियर एंगल भी है. Okay, I hope you know that the civil nuclear deal we have. इसमें एनर्जी भी है, गैस, ऑयल, इंपोर्ट्स, ईरान. Okay, plus it also has the prestige dimension. ये जो 5 है ना आपके, these 5 are the themes around which your answers can be developed. So आपका सोचने का जो प्रोसेस है ना वो अब ऑर्गेनाइज हो जाएगा. So you pick up any question, you pick up any topic you are reading, try putting those under those themes and what are the theaters where it is being played out. ठीक है? Okay. Now let's get back to our conversations. इसको आप बंद करो and get back to that slide now. Okay, now I just mentioned what are the elements of the security aspects. Okay, आपके syllabus में है terrorism, inner security, development, extremism, crimes, cyber security. Just listing it down. Now, one overarching theme. Okay, I'm going back now. ये 4 हो गया, ये 5 हो गया. Now, there is one more very important. We'll call this as the overarching theme. This kind of dominates whatever we read. It's like all pervasive idea across whatever we read is India's okay, reluctance and okay, and its unwillingness to be slotted under any dogmatic principles or associations. जो current governments हैं, last almost 3 governments, starting from Manmohan Singh itself and the last 2 governments of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, ये एक बहुत important theme है. India consistently is now refusing that don't slot us into any dogmatic principle or any dogmatic association. ये कहीं ना कहीं ये टोन पहले भी था, अब ये बहुत strong, almost bordering on belligerence है. Dogmatic is something, is like an unshakable idea. Okay, dogmatic is something which is like a divine norm जैसे. Dogmatic is very rigid. Dogmatic is inflexible. Dogmatic is something which is almost frozen. आप change नहीं कर सकते आप. So India increasingly says कि हमको किसी भी dogmatic association में ना डालो. I am friends with Russia, so I will agree to whatever Russia does. Not acceptable. I am friends of Russia. We will be helping one another, but our stand is Russian aggression against Ukraine was ill-advised. They must look for solutions which are beyond military. So India does not support Russia's military adventurism in Ukraine. But because we are against Russia in this does not mean that we will boycott Russia everywhere. Because Russia means our energy security. Russia means our defense supply security. So मुझे slot मत करो as pro-Russia, anti-Russia. Don't slot me. Don't group me as because I am a democracy does not mean that I will do whatever the majority says they want to do. There are examples where India refused to vote or has abstained from voting in the United Nations Assembly also. हमारे लिए कुछ भी dogmatic नहीं है, which very smartly has been put as okay, strategic autonomy. Some call this as strategic ambiguity. We have kept our positions very fluid. While I am against China on many things, but if it means that, okay, there is some issue around India's interests, I am also willing to partner with China. Okay, so I am very fluid there. There are accusations that India is opportunistic. Okay, ये इसका एक problem ये है. I will invite all of you. In fact, I wish I had as much time here. There's a very, very famous speech of Jaishankar ji. Okay, I hope you have heard it or you have read it. 2019 में, he has given a speech from the Indian Express के platform में. Okay, and he spoke about the dogmas that India should walk away from. And that speech, in many ways, has become the cornerstone of whatever India does today. It's almost like one of those important pillars around which India's foreign policy is moving. I'll just read out a couple of points from that. I'll share the link with all of you. It's there on the net. उनका पूरा speech YouTube में है. Okay, if you have not heard it, it's time you read that and you hear that 3-4 times if required. आपको पूरा foreign affairs का जो idea है ना, okay, you will have a fair good understanding there. Let me read that for you. Some text. So there is one. This was in 2019 November में इन्होंने speech दिया था. Looking beyond dogmas of Delhi. Looking beyond the dogmas of Delhi. Okay. मैंने printout निकाला था, but the printout has some advertisements also. Just listen to this, and if you can appreciate this, आपके answers में आप कैसे use करो. It says, the world today is not just different. Okay. The world is structurally transformed, and the international order is undergoing a profound transformation. American nationalism, the rise of China, the saga of Brexit, the rebalancing of global economy are often cited as the more dramatic examples of change. We have seen the return of old empires like Russia, Iran, or Turkey. The Middle East is in ferment. The centrality of ASEAN to Asia is not what it used to be. Very powerful within 3 sentences. The world has transformed dramatically. Okay, the world is no longer what it used to be. America mein, none of us ever thought it will have the type of nationalism it does today. America first under Donald Trump, okay, was very exclusive of the rest of the world. Ki baki jo marna hai maro, jo karna hai karo, America first. Rise of China, the Brexit. Okay, Britain, okay, EU se nikal jana is a huge, I'll say, change in the recent geopolitical aspects. Ise kya consequence hoga, time will tell us, but that's definitely a massive change. And then he says, the rise of empires. In the past, these were large empires. The Russian Empire tha, Iran, Persian Empire tha, Turkey, the Ottoman Empire. और टर्की के बारे में सुनते हैं आजकल हम लोग. Okay, it was rise of empires. He says ASEAN was a very important pillar in the issues of Asia. जब भी एशिया की बात होती थी, ASEAN was talked about as a very important fulcrum. Today, ASEAN is a pale shadow of its former past. In some ways, China has either subdued it or China has kind of subsumed it. Okay, so ASEAN is not as central to Asia than what it used to be. And it's saying the demographic and economic trends in Africa that give the continent a very greater salience. Future में almost 100% of the world's growth will be in Africa. In the future, Africa is one continent which will aspire for some bigger role because of its young population. जैसे हम इंडिया की बात करते हैं, इंडिया का demographic dividend. Okay, we have seen demographic dividend of Southeast Asia. What contributed to rise of ASEAN? India's rise because of young labor force, or China ka shrinking because its labor force is shrinking. So tomorrow, Africa will have the bulk of the young population. Africa will have young demographics. Young demographics, lot of resources, and a continent restless to break out of its poverty. इसका अलग dimensions होगा. So he says, okay, what defines power and determines national standing is also no longer the same. Technology and connectivity and trade are at the heart of the new contestations. पहले जो contest होता था, किसमें होता था? How many bombs you have? How many bombs I have? How many aircraft carriers you have? How many aircraft carriers I have? The contest of power was military in nature. आज के date में the contest of power includes, okay, technologies. The contest of power includes trade. Okay, the contest of power includes the spending as aid investments other countries. जो चाइना कर रहा है ना, debt diplomacy में कर रहा है. The world has changed and the contours of the contest have changed. In a more constrained and interdependent world, competition has to be pursued perforce more intelligently. Okay. Even climate change is a factor contributing to geopolitics amongst nations. Okay. Now, इसमें बोलते, now he says, in such an environment, the first caution is to avoid obsessing about consistency. It's a very powerful sentence. कि ऐसे world में जहां पर कि so much is changing and dramatically changing, you have to be very, very cautious about the idea called consistency. What is the meaning of the word consistency? जो काम कर रहे हो वही करते रहो बार बार. I have a position, I maintain that position. I've got an advantage, I keep working to the advantage. Is consistency. Jaishankar says that's a wrong idea. Okay, जहां पर world order इतना fluid है, the world order is so nimble and so agile, वहां पर आप कैसे बनोगे consistent? Imagine if India was to abandon US entirely and say only Russia के साथ रहेंगे, we're in trouble there. Or if India says only US, abandon the rest. Okay, imagine the axis now, Russia, China, Pakistan axis. क्या करोगे उसका? India says, okay, we will abolish all nuclear bombs, और हम भी bomb नहीं बनाने वाले आगे. In fact, there are a lot of voices that say that India must revisit its nuclear doctrine. Time आ चुका है where we must go back and check on that. And one example of this challenging the consistencies is the point that India takes vis-a-vis Indus Water Treaty. बहुत दिन चुपचाप बैठ चुके हम लोग. For long we have seen you raising issues which are frivolous, और दो जगह चले जाते हो, एक साथ चले जाते हो आप लोग. Now is time, I'm demanding, let us revisit. Okay, so I'm literally challenging all the established norms. I'm challenging all the established okay, ways that world has seen India. Okay. Isme it says the real obstacle, the purposeful pursuit of national interest in a shifting global dynamics may not be easy, but it must be done. The real obstacle to the rise of India is not anymore the barriers of the world, but the dogmas of Delhi. हमारे जो fixed notions हैं, India is this, India can't do this, India should only do this, only these can be India's friends, these are always against India. Says none of this is valid today. So India का आज का position ऐसा है that India is challenging all established norms. हम बोल रहे हैं सबको आप relook करो. Look at UN again, look at WTO again, look at World Bank, IMF again. Let's revisit the treaties that we had, okay, as a part of Rio Summit. Let's revisit whatever it was under the nuclear doctrines. हम लोग सब कुछ को challenge करेंगे अब. So एक overarching theme है, because the world is changing, the conditions have changed, and that is where Jaishankar ji says कि it's time that the world starts realizing Europe's problem is not the world's problem. बहुत famous sentence है ना? Okay. अभी तक तो ऐसे ही रहा है. अगर यूरोप को दुखी है तो सारे वर्ल्ड दुखी हो जाओ. अब हम नहीं होंगे ऐसे. Europe's problem are not the world's problem. I will look beyond what are my concerns and what are the global concerns. So my recommendation, I just read something here. देखो अगर आप ऐसे articles को आप appreciate नहीं कर पाओगे ना, then your reading is shallow. इसी article में he has talked about the 6 phases of India's foreign policy. ये जो phases discussions होती हैं, they're very subjective. Okay, Shiv Shankar Menal will say something, Jaishankar ji will say something else, Harsh Pant will say something else. But you must have an idea, जो present government है, वो कैसे देख रहा है India and its international relations. Okay, so going back to our conversation here. Okay, this was the list of questions that we have discussed. Okay, yeah. So अगर आप questions देखोगे, what stands out is the questions mostly are not about any one specific event or any one specific institutions. वो बड़े generic वाले हैं. One specific event, say Ukraine war. One specific event, maybe okay, Sri Lankan crisis. One specific event, maybe India's WTO ministerial meet. One specific event, maybe Rio Summit का जो anniversary बन रहा है अभी. ठीक है? So our point here is, questions are inspired by the event, but they are not about that event alone. Think of this one. Think of this question here. देखो. Okay. The US is facing an existential threat in the form of a China that is much more challenging than the erstwhile Soviet Union. Can you identify this as a part of any one event? दोबारा question पढ़ो आप. The US is facing an existential threat in the form of China that is much more challenging than the erstwhile Soviet Union. इसमें तो सारा IR का wisdom आ जाता है इसके अंदर में. कहां शुरू करोगे आप? Cold War से. It doesn't stop there. So this is not about any one event here. Look at this one. If the last few decades were of Asia's growth story, the next few are expected to be of Africa's. In the light of this statement, examine India's influence in Africa in the recent years. कोई एक event नहीं है ना ये, कोई एक engagement नहीं है, कोई एक summit थोड़ी है ये वाला. It's like whatever you know about Africa and India, सारा समेट के यहां डालो. Let's see what you say. Look at this one. Okay, what are, अभी ये तो फिर भी straight है, okay, because WTO के बाद directly है. Okay, look at this one. A number of outside powers have entrenched themselves in Central Asia, which is a zone of interest to India. Discuss implications in this context of India's joining the Akshabad Agreement. Akshabad Agreement को focus में रखा, but see what is asked you. Is asked you कि tell us, okay, इतने सारे लोग अब घुस गए सेंट्रल एशिया में, what is that meaning to India's foreign policies or India's interest? So you must again know the totality of India and Central Asia at one go. So what I was trying to focus on is, your questions are not, many of them are not about any one event. Most of them are about your opinion on something larger, impact about something larger, and they ask you your solutions and your evaluations. तो आपको IR में ये एक ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा, okay, that whatever you read as a part of a larger, okay, body of themes that converge into one question or one discussion. So go back again, those 5 themes: conventional security, economic growth, the nuclear issues, okay, the issues related to energy, and India's prestige. Yahi 5 themes can kind of converge whatever questions you are having. So इस workshop का ये intention था कि your understanding of IR has to be beyond mechanical information. Don't just by heart UN क्या है, कब बना है, what are the powers, what are the bodies, and keep quiet. You have to relate UN to the issues of today, the issues concerning India's development, India's demand for reforms. आप पढ़ोगे, totality में पढ़ोगे. Don't just take up, okay, for example, imagine this question I'm asking. Okay. While the economic turmoil in India's neighborhood is a situation India must understand and intervene, but the nature of intervention will vary, okay, keeping in mind India's strategic, okay, interests and India's concerns related to security and development. ये क्वेश्चन लिखो आप लोग, all of you. While the economic turmoil in India's neighborhood, while the economic turmoil in India's neighborhood is a situation India must understand and intervene. India must understand and intervene in. I repeat, while the economic turmoil in India's neighborhood is a situation India must understand and intervene in, but the nature of intervention will vary. Okay, the nature of intervention will vary, keeping in mind India's strategic interests and India's concerns related to security and development. Can you appreciate this question has gone to a next level now? श्रीलंकन क्राइसिस तो है, हमें पता है, पाकिस्तान भी क्राइसिस है, कितना लेस देन 3 बिलियन अब शायद बचा है इनके पास में इंपोर्ट के लिए, राइट? नेपाल इज अगेन टॉटरिंग नाउ, आर अवेयर ऑफ दिस? नेपाल हैज अ सीरियस प्रॉब्लम ऑफ एक्सटर्नल डेट्स. बांग्लादेश में प्रॉब्लम है because of shrinking imports from Bangladesh, okay? And we also have the problems related to your border issues. India-China border issues के problem है. Bhutan, okay, China is very aggressive there. So don't be surprised अगर ये problem will be, okay, across India's neighborhood. Okay, श्रीलंका में देख लिया, पाकिस्तान ऑलमोस्ट देयर, IMF रिफ्यूजिंग टू गिव इट, पर IMF भी देगा, कितना देगा? 1.1 बिलियन ही तो देगा अभी आपको. ओके, 1.1 बिलियन विल नॉट सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ पाकिस्तान डेट क्राइसिस. दैट्स ओनली अ बाइंग टाइम फॉर अ फ्यू मोर मंथ्स. उनका प्रॉब्लम इज फार मोर डीपर एंड स्ट्रक्चर इन नेचर. सो डिड इंडिया इंटरवीन इन श्रीलंका? डिड इंडिया इंटरवीन इन श्रीलंका? यस. Will India intervene in Pakistan? Yes. Okay. Will India intervene in Nepal? But इसका nature अलग-अलग होगा. What India does in Sri Lanka perhaps will not be what India does in Pakistan. Will not be same as what India does with Nepal or Bangladesh. Think about this question. कि कहां से जाएगा, कहां पर खत्म होगा ये वाला. So your reading has to go beyond the factual details. Your reading has to go beyond simply the facts of Pakistan's economic crisis. आप बताओ ना, सोच के बताओ, if India must intervene Pakistan में, वो किस टाइप का intervention होगा? And keep in mind, okay, the Taliban is back, okay, at the throat of Pakistan. Keep in mind, okay, that Sri Lanka, okay, probably was relatively much lesser, okay, you know, say turmoil with India's history than what Pakistan has been. Don't forget the fact that Pakistan is a nuclear power, Sri Lanka is not. Okay, don't forget the fact कि China का investments Pakistan में कहीं ज़्यादा है than talking about Sri Lanka. Don't forget the fact Pakistan's proximity with Afghanistan and Iran compared to Sri Lanka. So what India does in Pakistan will not be same as what India does in Sri Lanka. और ये वाला कोई आपको किताब में मिलेगा नहीं, आपको सोच लिखना होगा कि इंडिया क्या करेगा, बताओ. Okay, just as श्रीलंका में रेफ्यूजी क्राइसिस हुआ है, people are leaving of Sri Lanka, पाकिस्तान में भी होगा. And when the refugee crisis, economic turmoil के लिए, okay, what are the big areas of Pakistan? They are towards the Indian border. जो वहां से लोग भागेंगे, कहां जाएंगे? India has to be prepared for that. It's a very, very different type of understanding required here. I hope you all got this idea here. Okay. So, एक और question लिखो. See if this makes sense to you. One more question. One more question. While, लिखो please, write down. While the world may see India's stand, okay, in Ukraine vis-a-vis Russia as opportunist and determined by narrow energy security concerns. For India, its stand vindicates. It's increasingly assertive, okay, increasingly assertive, okay, position where India wants Europe to dehyphenate its concerns from that of the world. Discuss. I'm reading the question again. While the world may see India's stand in Ukraine vis-a-vis Russia as opportunist and determined by narrow energy security concerns, for India, its stand is, okay, vindicative of its increasingly assertive position where India's stand is vindicative of its increasingly assertive position where India wants Europe to dehyphenate its concerns from that of the world. It wants Europe to dehyphenate its concerns from that of the world. Question समझ में आया आपको, all of you here? It's not simply write a note on India's involvement in Ukraine war. Okay, Europe has been putting allegations that India is very narrow-minded. अपने एनर्जी के लिए country को war करने दे रहा है. Okay, because of its own energy concerns, it is siding with the enemy, which is Russia. But India says no. Okay, India wants that Europe should start seeing that Europe's problems are not the world's problems. Europe's priorities cannot be the world's priorities. Europe's challenges cannot be the world's challenges. In tone of what Jaishankar ji said. The questions of IR are going to be very, very deep. In fact, I think IR has always been very, very important, except for a narrow time when India was going through the turmoil of coalition politics. Otherwise, in the times of Jawaharlal Nehru, in the times of Indira Gandhi, including the present government and Manmohan Singh government, IR हमेशा important रहा है. In fact, it's said that while choosing the IFS officers, many of them would have a personal one-to-one interviews with Jawaharlal Nehru himself. He would be very, very passionate about who are the people going to represent India in the global affairs. And the kind of energy that this government has brought back into foreign service is because IR is a defining aspect of India's larger dreams and aspirations. इसको आप lightly as a course completion ना लें. You study this from a much more deeper perspective. Yes, these सारे questions straight can be part of your geography discussions also, but उसमें थोड़ा geographical angle ज़्यादा रहेगा. Okay, fine. That was just giving an idea about what questions asked. So topical study will not do. is my assertion. जैसे last वाला question जो था, the topic was Sri Lankan crisis, but you cannot study Sri Lanka alone and keep it. You must study the bigger version also. So IR में the topical study will not do. Okay, you understand this one now? Now these are some books I will want कि आप इसको definitely पढ़ें. For most of you, you have 1 year to go for your mains. Okay, and interview board में भी the IR questions are very very popular questions. IR पे काफी सवाल आते हैं. So the book's name लिख लो अगर आपको अगर. Okay, one is the book called Choices, and please read this not like a novel, but इसको carefully पढ़ना and underline the ideas. I'll see. I mean, I've always wanted to do this. कभी हुआ नहीं. मेरा बहुत मन है कि ऐसे किताब हम at least once in 15 days discuss करें. आप भी पढ़ के आओ, मैं भी पढ़ के आऊं. We sit down. So maybe I'll have a series of lectures on those also. The first book is, लिख लो आप please, Choices by Shiv Shankar Menon. लिख लो. फोटोग्राफ लोगे तो फिर रह जाएगा, लिखोगे तो याद रहेगा. Choices by Shiv Shankar Menon. He was our national security advisor and also our foreign secretary. Okay, then Jaishankar ji ka The India Way. So ये दो बहुत important है. Why? Because they tell us about the last 15-20 years of India's foreign policy का जो crux रहा है. The India Way. This again is optional. Okay, from Chanakya to Modi by Aparna Pandey. From Chanakya to Modi. तो ये पूरा history of evolution है. एक और अपर्णा पांडे का है मेकिंग इंडिया ग्रेट. मेकिंग इंडिया ग्रेट, अपर्णा पांडे. दिस इज अ वेरी वेरी फेमस बुक. डज द एलिफेंट डांस बाय डेविड मेलॉन. डेविड मेलॉन, a Canadian, he was the Canada's ambassador to India. इनके बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग कोट्स हैं. He says, I mean, in one chapter he mentions, for many of us, it's very surprising that India, the type of politics India manages within, it does not manage outside. आप सोच देखो ना, इंडिया में इलेक्शंस होते हैं, कैंपेन है, the seats का anti-defection, buying off, it's a very intense politics, no? You can never be sure कि आपका सरकार रहेगा कि नहीं रहेगा. Again, big brains working. But the global politics में आते हैं ना, India loses out. And for a long time, Pakistan was scoring over India. बहुत सारे ऐसे cases हैं, Pakistan has taken the rug under the India's feet. तो ये बहुत surprise था, ऐसा क्यों होता है? Okay. And David Malone says because India का जो domestic politics इतना intense है, it does not leave much time or energy for the leaders to get into global politics. लेकिन अगर हम घुस गए वहां पर ना, trust me, we will outsmart any one of those there. A political system, a politics that manages 1.4 billion people. The leaders are far more smarter than many of them out there in the global politics. बट वही है कि इतना इंटेंस पॉलिटिक्स इंडिया में है, एनर्जी बचता नहीं है ना कि वहां पे जाके कुछ करा जाए. दैट्स व्हाई WTO में हमारा निकल जाता है एडवांटेज. वी लूज आउट इन द UN, वी लूज आउट इन द IMF, वी लूज आउट इन द वर्ल्ड बैंक. बट आई थिंक दैट इज नाउ चेंजिंग. दिस इज वेरी वेरी गुड बुक. Does the elephant dance? Because the Southeast Asians were called as the tigers and China is called the dragon. India is likened to elephant, not as nimble, very large, very slow moving. This is Can the Elephant Dance? Okay, read this book, very nice book. ये किताब है हर्ष पंत का इंडियन फॉरेन पॉलिसी. हर्ष पंत, ये बहुत फेमस किताब है, राजीव सीकरी की है. challenge and strategy, rethinking India's foreign policy. Okay, so these 7, you don't buy all the books at one go. Okay, if that's your concern. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So these 7 books, I will recommend that you should consider at least reading 2 or 3 of these, and during the preparation itself. ऐसे कुछ books on social issues भी हैं, security में भी हैं, some good books on culture भी है. I'll give some of those names to you. और यही आपका foundation बनाएगा from the interview perspective also. So that's the discussion to initiate you. Some of you are in my class, otherwise also. We are starting the IR classes, I think by Feb 28th say, and I will be the teacher for IR also in GS. Okay? So like we had a session where I said कि आप कहीं भी class करें, but see if you can maintain a pattern, okay, and keep pace with us in completing those topics. So आप लोग polity कर रहे थे, okay, now you can start doing your IR probably in the next 2 weeks time. ठीक है? Can you buy? Yes, Vishal. Buy the books one by one, not at one go. Brajesh, I will not promise you that, but हालांकि मेरा मन तो बहुत है. Okay, I sincerely feel, okay, most of us need to be elevated at the levels of your thinking. आप लोग सोचते नहीं हो. और जो questions है ना, each question is worth thinking for half an hour and discussing. But we have time constraints हैं. I'll see what I can do. Maybe once some of these workshops get over, I could also have open lectures, okay, and you can come and sit and participate. I could have open discussions on the books also. I can do that, not a problem. In fact, if you're all aware, I started a series called as Beyond Syllabus on the YouTube. Okay, YouTube mein you type Edukemy and Beyond Syllabus. This may within 2-3 minutes, I want to discuss things beyond syllabus like paintings, art, music, okay, discuss some forms of literature, discuss philosophies. जो आपके लिए important है, it's just that आपके पास time नहीं होता है to take those topics up. ठीक है? Yes, you can, Vishal. You can. You can, Vishal. You can go modular also if you want to go there. Which book to buy first? I think ये दोनों किताब ले लो. The Way Forward and Choices by Shiv Shankar Menon. ये दो पहले पढ़ लेना. Way Forward by Jai Shankar and Choices by Shiv Shankar Menon. Both are very good. Give a good idea about how things have changed. और ये वाला speech सुन लेना आप लोग, all of you. Shiv Shankar, sorry, Jai Shankar's 2019 का speech है, or I'll share it with the team. They'll share on the Telegram platform also. Okay, so fine then. That's for today's workshop. Okay, I thought I'll finish 1 hour, but I went on 1.5 hours. I want to continue with the geography class. Okay. Let me close this session first, then we'll talk about the rest. Okay. Thank you all of you for joining in. Yes, I'll share the calendar for the other workshops also. I'll do that. Thank you so much. Bye-bye all of you. Thank you. The new link must be open.